Now is Guy Lewis, a former U.S. attorney who worked at the Justice Department with both Mueller and James Comey. Let's start off with, maybe this is a dumb question. What's the big deal? So what if the president wanted to fire Robert Mueller?
Well, that's a good question, because it begs the question of really collusion. What is he investigating? Is it illegal to quote, collude? I would argue no, unless there's an underlying crime. Conspiracy is illegal. If you and I get together and talk about violating the law, illegal. But collusion, I'm still sort of searching for that gravamen.
Okay, well, what about the argument, Guy, that Robert Mueller had conflicts of interest? He belonged to a Trump golf club. He previously worked for a law firm that represented Jared Kushner and was interviewed by the president for the job of FBI director. You could say, no, this guy has too many conflicts.
Well, that's what Trump's argument is going to be. And he's got some points. He's going to score some points here. He's going to wind up saying, look, you could have gathered a team of lawyers and investigators who hadn't contributed tens of thousands of dollars to my opponent's campaign. You could have brought investigators in here who weren't having affairs and sending 50,000 texts. Who sends 50,000 text messages to anybody during the course of the investigation? You could have brought in people who were taint-free. The entire independent counsel law is all about appearances. That's why we have Robert Mueller in the first place. So, look, Bob Mueller, who I respect greatly and worked with a long time, does have some explaining to do.
Okay, so just days ago there was a report that the FBI director threatened to resign because of pressure to get rid of his deputy, Andrew McCabe. What does it say that these threats are apparently what's saving the president from his worst instincts, which is to kind of get rid of everyone in his way, which is probably the way he operated in the real estate industry? Right.
You got to know that in New York, when he was in the private sector, and even on his show, I mean, that's how he made a living for a while, to bring him in. You're fired. Get out. I've had enough. Right. So he does have that instinct, but it's a good question. And Mueller's team, they're going to use that against him. They're going to flip that and say, you can't fire the investigator when the investigator is looking at corruption and other allegations involving you and your team. That in and of itself, arguably, is obstruction of justice.
Well, that's what he did with James Comey. What about those in Congress who say we have a constitutional crisis on our hands?
Well, I don't know if it's reached a constitutional crisis level. It could, and I think that's where we're going in terms of the logistic of a potential and possible interview of the president. I mean, the last time, think about this, the last time that a president of the United States has been interviewed in something like this, similar, it's not exactly the same, but it's Clinton. Clinton sat down with Ken Starr, Judge Starr, who wanted to speak to him ultimately, and he was subpoenaed and had to testify under oath, and everybody remembers that clip and what happened there. But even in that case, when the allegation was that he perjured himself, he didn't get indicted. He didn't get charged. Even in Nixon, in the Nixon case, where you had underlying criminal conduct, a burglary and then a huge, massive cover-up. He didn't get charged. He didn't get indicted. And that's the precedent that Trump and his team are dealing with.
Guy, take us in the room for this interview that we understand will take place in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Even the president's saying that now. What is that going to be like? How is that going to go? What questions are going to be asked of the president? And how's he going to respond?
Boy, oh boy, I'd love to be a part of that. It is going to be it's going to be like the fighting in the cage is what my prediction is. They're going to take off their gloves, and it's going to be a hand-to-hand combat. It really will, because that seems to be Trump's style. And whether his lawyers tell him to be professional and polite, I just don't think it's going to happen like that. You're going to have, for example, and this is, listen, as much as he said, Rick, it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks, I'll sit down and answer questions. I'll give you 10 to 1, it's going to be 2 to 3 months at the earliest.
Okay.
Because they're going to sit down, they're going to say, okay, who's going to be present? They're going to fight about that. What are the questions going to be? They're going to fight about that. Is it under oath? They're going to fight about that. Do the agents walk into the White House Oval Office and say, okay, Mr. President, you have the right to remain silent anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Are they going to Mirandize him, read him his rights under the Constitution? You've got a lot of moving issues here that the lawyers are going to fight about.
And a lot of lawyers, too.
Oh, yeah, a lot of lawyers.
Guy Lewis, thank you very much for your insight. Appreciate
Our
it.
lawyer.
There
Thank
you go.
very much,
Glad
Guy.
to be here. Thank you.